A doctor just publicly raised new alarm about Donald Trump's health, and frankly, this would go a long way toward explaining the past couple of weeks. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. Not a week goes by in the dark ages of Trump 2.0 without somebody raising new alarms about Donald Trump's failing health, both mental and physical. Of course, earlier this year, after photos of bruises on his hands and swollen ankles began to circulate, the White House made this unusual announcement.
Speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition.
And if you still find that explanation hard to swallow, stick around. You won't be sorry. If you watch our show, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, if you're a regular viewer, you know that I, like many others, don't quite buy this explanation of chronic venous insufficiency. In fact, I consulted a doctor on this issue last week, and without any prompting by me, he confirmed my suspicion that Trump's symptoms are more in line with congestive heart failure than chronic venous insufficiency. Again, see our other videos for more on that. But even congestive heart failure can't explain Trump's bizarre mental decomposition. Remember this wacky speech a couple of weeks ago with the generals?
Beautiful paper, the gorgeous paper. I said, throw a little more gold on it. They deserve it. I want the A paper, not the D paper. We used to sign a piece of garbage. I said, this man's going to be a general, right? Yeah. I don't want to use this. I want to use the big, beautiful, firm paper. I want to use the real gold writing when you talk about the position, and they're beautiful. And, but how would you like to have that where some kid sitting in the back office is having it signed with an auto pen? I thought about it, and I thought about you people first, admirals, generals. I said,
Or did you catch this weirdness earlier in the week?
We're way ahead of China militarily from the standpoint of the sophisticated weapons. We have weapons that a lot of people don't even know about it. I got them started 4 years ago. I rebuilt the military 4 years ago, fortunately, because Biden didn't do anything but give a piece of it away to Afghanistan.
Yeah. We could cite dozens of similar examples of head-scratching Trump comments. It's one thing to meander in a speech. It's another to be totally incoherent. And now we may have a better understanding of why. Psychiatrist Dr. John Gartner, who also taught at Johns Hopkins, stopped off at the Daily Beast podcast to discuss Trump's health, the accumulation of his symptoms, and what's really going on behind closed doors at the White House. Now, this is a very long clip. There's a lot in here, so make sure to watch the whole thing. You won't be sorry.
Because he thinks he's so wonderful. Anything he talks about is wonderful.
And he calls it his weave, right?
Right. Well, the weave was a brilliant way to cover up his dementia. Because at some level, he knows his thoughts are completely fragmented, that he can't follow a train of thought to save his life. So then what he does, because he's so narcissistic, is, well, that just shows what a genius I am. The fact that I can't actually complete a thought just shows how smart I am, because I'm so brilliant that I can just weave all of these disparate ideas into some new creation. But it's not a manifestation of genius or creativity. It's a manifestation of pathology and cognitive decline. First of all, there is some strong suspicion that he had some kind of stroke around Labor Day. Or it could be what we call a transient ischemic attack, which is sort of a minor stroke and it kind of reverses itself. And the drooping that he had on the right side of his face.
At 9/11. It was very, very evident at 9/11.
It's very evident, and it's very diagnostic. There's really almost nothing else other than Bell's palsy, which I don't think he has, that could cause that. There's simply nothing else. It's not aging. It's not fatigue. It's not, there's nothing you could do to make someone's face droop halfway like that other than a stroke. And you mentioned his medication. Now, this is, again, a little bit beyond my kin, but some doctors have been saying, well, first of all, he's on aspirin every day. Well, we did used to give aspirin every day for cardiac health. We stopped doing that years and years ago. Now, when we give someone aspirin every day, it's often because they have had a stroke, and we're trying to, break up any potential blood clots. He's also on a medication, I'm not sure I can pronounce this right, at Tizembe. They're saying it's to lower cholesterol, but we rarely give that medication to lower cholesterol if they're already on cholesterol-lowering medication, unless, again, we're compensating for some kind of stroke. So they're not explaining, first of all, I don't think they're even telling us all his medications, but the logical explanation for that might be that they are trying to treat a stroke. And the other thing that suggests that is that they brought him back to Walter Reed for a second annual physical. Mm-hmm. Well, if it's a second one, then it would be a semi-annual physical. It wouldn't be a second annual physical. Obviously, it was provoked by something. They brought him there, and we know that they did full brain imagery. We know that they did MRIs, that they did CAT scans. Okay, we don't do that unless we suspect that someone has had some kind of cerebral event. It's something we do when we think there's potentially a crisis or a problem. And so the fact that they brought him back, that they did the scanning, that the medicine suggests a stroke, that his clinical presentation suggests a stroke, it's all very suggestive.
And how seriously should we take a stroke in Donald Trump at this stage? I mean, I think we all know people who've had TIAs and gone on and been highly functional. Is this something that we now know how to treat? And it's not as serious as it sounds?
I think it sounds serious. I think it is serious, especially given that he may be having a series of these. Mm-hmm. He's having circulatory problems, and he's already showing immense cognitive decline. So all of these things are kind of swirling together to really make him essentially, I think, to the point where basically Stephen Miller is going to be the equivalent of Mrs. Wilson, if you remember.
Good Lord. Let's hope not. Yes.
And his wife ran the government for a few months. I think that we're kind of in a Mrs. Wilson sort of situation, or it's developing into that.
Mini strokes. That's another suspicion we here at Occupy Democrats have talked about on the show before, as have many others. The same is true of dementia, which happens to run in Trump's family. So there you have it. It appears highly likely that the United States is currently being run by a dying man who is also decomposing mentally. No wonder Stephen Miller's manifesting his dreams of immigrants in concentration camps. No wonder Russell Vogt is pushing Mike Johnson to continue the government shutdown and make sure millions of Americans lose their health care, not to mention their jobs. If nothing in the Trump administration makes sense, it's because it's being run by sycophants and a man who can't understand the basics of how policy works, let alone come up with one. So then, the real question is this. Who is going to take the wheel away from this demented maniac before he crashes the country into a wall? Congress, I'm looking at you. And Cabinet, there's always the 25th Amendment. This is Occupy Democrats.